This morning, as I share my sermon with you, Community Church of New York, I would love for us just to take a few seconds and recognize the circle of life that moves all of us. As a nation, we have recently experienced our presidential election just 4 days ago. 4 days ago. That does not erase 4 years of challenges, unspoken words, actions, pain, suffering, disappointment. However, today, I will not only talk about deconstructing realities, shifting the narrative, but I will also honor Bodhi Day, which in the Lunar New Year was on the 20th of this month, which is an invitation for us to awaken. To awaken. I at least experienced that in the presidential inauguration. Yes, there were moments where we might have not agreed with everything that was shared, we saw, or heard. But once again, it is an invitation to what is next. Bodhi Day is celebrated by many Buddhists throughout the world. It is the process through which these communities recognize the spiritual and cultural process through which Siddhartha Gautama, who is also known as the Buddha, went through in his own lifetime, where he recognized that he was born into privilege, into a determined sociocultural reality that inhibited him from the realities that his people were experiencing and living. And it was not until he decided to leave the security of his home, the gates which surrounded him, that he began to see that everything was not as he had thought. He began to see suffering, pain, death, people aging. That the socioeconomic realities of his people were not the same as he had experienced. And so he decided to leave all that behind and become a mendicant, a wanderer, somebody that wanted to awaken to a new reality, to a new reality. After a journey of about 5 years, he sat under the Bodhi tree. And it was under that tree that he awoke and discovered his own spiritual awakening, becoming the Buddha. The tenets of many of the different sects and expressions of Buddhism are centered around compassion, wisdom, and kindness. If anything that we seek, let us learn from our siblings within the Buddhist traditions. As Denise Marie Johnson read in the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, there's a door of compassion that is being opened for us today. Can we see it? Can we sense it? Can we be brave as a community to dare create that door together if we're not able to see it or sense it? The words of political philosopher Sylvia Winters, she talks about the orders of things, or in other words, the orders of episteme and knowledge, which echoes the philosophy and wisdom of the Buddha, where our sources, knowledge, and experiences inform the ways in which we create our realities. It's a community so diverse as ours in terms of political beliefs, religious expressions, different social, economic paths, and maybe even our lived experiences. Our realities are different. Our realities are different. But it is in our diversity and difference that we can embody and live out what it means to be community. To listen to the stories and narratives that each of us carry within our body. Stories and narratives that maybe we have heard from our ancestors. Ancestors who are maybe still with us and those that have transitioned beyond. But they remained with us and inform the way that we move and act in the world. Community church today is in a process, it's in a threshold of listening to the stories and narratives that have been nurtured, cultivated, and cared for in the past centuries, that the brick and mortar that is known as community church has contained within itself. The bricks, the chairs, the people that walk within our congregation pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, but also the community church that is today in this virtual space is in a process of shifting its narrative. We are being given an opportunity politically, socially, communally to shift the narratives and deconstruct the realities that might not have been spaces of welcome for others who don't share our lived experience. At the end of this month, our community, yes, members, you have a vote to cast that will determine not only the next 5 years of Community Church of New York, but will determine the generations to come. That requires for us to examine our sources, our text, our controlled realities, and move with compassion to what can be maybe even uncertainty. But think about the generations that are to come. How each of us can work, shift our narratives, and hopefully make a difference in this world. In this community that we have decided to be nurtured, cared for, and with whom we have a responsibility for spiritual growth, not only here, not just in our physical space of community church, but within our broader denomination. May we be able to awaken ourselves and each other in ways that bring life, compassion, and love. The episode.